Total chaos, as we saw some crazy strikes by Ukraine. It's day 1492 of Russia's operation in Ukraine. Let's dive deeper. Conflict in the Middle East, that is affecting the world's economy in a negative way, has been a blessing for Russia. This came in the form of a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, as President Trump had to lift sanctions on Russian oil for countries who were facing oil shortages. This means several countries who stopped purchasing Russian oil will have to buy at a high price, profiting Russia greatly. One of these countries is the Philippines, who had not purchased Russian oil for roughly 4 years. According to the sources, India has already placed an order for Russian oil for 2027. And this means Russia has strengthened its economy and will look to recover the loss incurred while under sanction. And to no one's surprise, Ukraine, being at loss, is not happy about it. So now, on top of cutting oil supplied to countries like Hungary and Slovakia, they are now trying to minimize the gains Russia gets from the conflict in the Middle East. And they are doing by striking Russia where it hurts the most: oil facilities. Since the last couple of days, they have been launching hundreds of long-range strikes on Russia. And last night's attack was very significant. According to the Russian officials, overnight they intercepted around 389 drones across Russia. However, Ukraine was able to score some big strikes. According to the sources and footage, Russia's two most important terminals all the way up in St. Petersburg were struck. With fire still burning, it is reported Russia had to stop the export operation. Primorsk terminal has capacity to export 1 million barrels of oil per day, while UST Luga just exported 33 million tons of oil last year. These two were one of the most important terminals for Russia. However, today's bad news for Russia didn't end here. Apparently, in the long-range strike, Ukraine damaged Russia's icebreaker at Vyborg shipyard, which was undergoing repairs. Now, many of you have asked me several times in the past why Ukraine is able to do massive damage to Russia with its strikes. The simple answer is that Ukraine has so many targets that they can strike within Russia. And Russia, being massive, will have to spread out their air defenses, meaning there will always be assets that are less protected than the other. In my opinion, only to avoid this would be through intelligence. But it's much harder said than done. Ukraine, by doing these strikes, is sending a clear signal that they still can fight this conflict, even after a big catastrophe heading their way. And we see a similar strategy on the front line as well. As you are well aware, it has been several weeks since Ukrainian armed forces launched a counterattack near Heliopol. From the way they were attacking, it looked like they were going after a rapid breakthrough, while taking advantage of the communication disruption caused by the Starlink terminal. But as we saw, their pace has been very slow, and Russian sources reported that Ukrainian forces are suffering high losses. But they continue their counterattack. In today's report, sources confirmed that Ukraine in the last couple of days were able to recapture this significant area. Sources further shared the details that Ukrainian forces exploited the gaps in Russian defenses and forced them to withdraw. However, this is very surprising, given it has been several weeks since Ukraine's counterattack began, and Russia having around 3 combined armed armies. I think there is some type of difference in strategy at a higher level, because most of the Russian units here are very experienced. As I don't have the correct details, I will try to find out and share it in my next report. What makes it interesting is that the defense gap that they are talking about is only happening in the northern flank, which was secured by Russian forces before they captured Heliopol city, where they don't have this problem, and are in fact on the offensive. According to the latest report, from Kherson they are attacking nearly 6 settlements, and have expanded the gray zone. However, Ukraine will have to be very mindful of using their resources, as sources suggest the USA is preparing for the ground invasion. If that happens, they will have a shortage of ammunition. Subscribe for more frontline updates. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.